Chapter 1: A Tragic Night of Celebration. Last night was supposed to be one of the happiest nights in modern Mexican football history. After 40 long years, Mexico finally won a World Cup knockout match on home soil in the roaring cauldron of the Estadio Azteca. A whole nation poured into the streets to celebrate. And by the early hours of the morning, 4 of those people were dead. This is a difficult one, and I want to handle it with the care it deserves because behind the scorelines and the drama of this tournament, 4 real families woke up today to the worst news imaginable. So, let's talk about what happened on the pitch, and then what happened in the streets afterward, honestly and respectfully. Chapter 2: Historic Victory on the Pitch. Let's start with the match itself because the celebration came from a genuinely special night of football. Mexico faced Ecuador in the round of 32 at the Azteca. And for 4 decades, this exact stage had haunted them. Mexico had not won a World Cup knockout game since 1986. 40 years of early exits, of near misses, of a nation that lives and breathes this sport falling short at the first real hurdle. That was the weight on their shoulders when they walked out on Tuesday night. And they didn't just win, they were spectacular. The game was actually delayed for an hour by a fierce electric storm, but once it cleared, Mexico were irresistible. At the heart of it was a 17-year-old named Gilberto Mora, who put in an astonishing performance well beyond his years. His mind was a step ahead of everyone on the pitch. The opening goal was a thing of beauty. A clipped ball sent Julian Quiñones scorching into space, and he smashed it into the roof of the net. The second came from veteran Raúl Jiménez, more than double Mora's age, who pounced on a defensive error to make it 2-0. It finished 2-0, and it sent Mexico into the last 16, where they will face England on Sunday. For the coach, Javier Aguirre, it was deeply personal. 2 of Mexico's past early exits had come under his own management in 2002 and 2010. "I belong to that generation that hadn't managed to take this step," he said afterward. "No victory compares to today's because it happened at home with our own people. It was, by every measure, a night of pure joy. The Azteca shook, the whole country celebrated. And that's exactly what makes what came next so heartbreaking." Chapter 3: The Disaster Unfolds. Because as the final whistle blew, more than 1 million people flooded into the center of Mexico City. The heart of it was the Paseo de la Reforma, the capital's Grand Central Boulevard, and the area around the iconic Angel of Independence monument. Fans had been gathering there since well before midday, waiting through the rain and the storm delay just to be part of it. The city had closed off more than 2 kilometers of road, set up giant screens, and braced for an enormous party. But somewhere in that dense, euphoric, packed crowd, celebration turned to catastrophe. According to the city's health department, emergency teams were called to 3 unconscious people at different spots around the Paseo de la Reforma. A 44-year-old man and a 19-year-old woman were given advanced resuscitation efforts, but both died of suffocation. A third victim, a 48-year-old woman, was treated on a nearby street and later died in hospital, also from asphyxiation. And then a fourth, a man in his 30s, was taken to hospital with severe seizures, suffered a cardiac arrest, and died, for lives gone in the space of a single night of celebration. Chapter 4: The Mechanics of a Crowd Crush. That word, suffocation, tells you the grim mechanics of what happened. When a crowd becomes too large and too dense, people can be compressed so tightly that they physically cannot expand their chest to breathe. It does not require anyone to fall. The sheer weight and pressure of a surging crowd can be lethal on its own, and it can happen in the middle of what looks, from a distance, like pure happiness. Local media reported that the deadly crush may have been triggered by pyrotechnics going off in the crowd, causing panic. People started to run, and in that surge, some fell and were trampled. Videos that circulated afterward showed the horror of it. People near the Angel Monument were trapped and completely unable to move, swaying helplessly as the momentum of the crowd pushed them back and forth. Other clips showed fights breaking out, people on the ground amid a mess of cans, bottles, and spilled alcohol. The contrast could not have been crueler. The cheering and chanting of a nation's greatest football night in decades, and just streets away, paramedics performing CPR on the pavement. And here's the part we have to sit with honestly. Chapter 5, Preventative Efforts and Reality. This was, to some degree, foreseeable. And the authorities had actually tried to prevent it because this wasn't the first massive street party of Mexico's World Cup. The crowds had swelled with every single victory as the host nation advanced. In the weeks, before, Mexico City had already taken real steps to make these celebrations safer. They had banned alcohol sales on match days. They had increased the number of giant screens and spaced them further apart, specifically to spread crowds out and stop dangerous bottlenecks. Before this very game, the mayor had openly warned fans hoping to gather at the Angel Monument to go somewhere else because the crowds there were already too big. They saw the danger coming. They tried to manage it, and 4 people still died. That's the sobering reality here. This is one of the most densely populated metropolitan areas on the entire planet. More than 20 million people, a country that lives for this team. And when 1 million euphoric fans compress into a few kilometers of boulevard, the margin for disaster becomes razor-thin. Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, said the Attorney General's office would investigate what went wrong and that authorities would evaluate what needs to change before Sunday's match against England. The city's mayor, Clara Brugada, offered her condolences to the families and urged everyone to celebrate with responsibility, care, and empathy. Chapter 6, Recurring Challenges at Major Events. And if you've been following this tournament, this pattern, joy shadowed by chaos in Mexico City, might feel painfully familiar. Because think back to the very start of it all. Mexico's World Cup opening match was itself surrounded by turmoil, protests outside the stadium, disorder in the streets, a sense that the sheer scale of hosting this thing was spilling over into problems nobody had fully gotten a handle on. From day one, the story around Mexico's games hasn't only been about the football. It's been about what happens outside the stadium, in the crowds, in the streets, and about whether the people responsible for public safety could keep up with the raw, overwhelming passion of a football-mad nation hosting the world. Last night, tragically, that question got its most painful answer yet. Chapter 7, Looking Ahead and Remembering. So, let's be clear about where the blame does and doesn't belong because it matters. The fans who came out to celebrate did nothing wrong by loving their team. Celebrating a historic victory is a beautiful human thing. The vast majority of that million-strong crowd simply wanted to share a moment of collective joy with their countrymen. This is not a story about people celebrating too hard. It's a story about crowd safety, about how you protect an ocean of people when an entire nation's dreams come true all at once, and about the hard questions that now have to be asked before the next wave of celebration on Sunday, because Mexico play again in just a few days. If they beat England, the streets will fill again, bigger than ever, and the authorities now carry the enormous responsibility of making sure that the next great Mexican football night doesn't end the way this one did. For now, though, 4 people who went out to celebrate their country are not coming home, and amid all the goals, the drama, and the giant killings of this World Cup, that is the part that has to be remembered today. Our thoughts are with the families of those who lost their lives and with the city of Mexico as it grieves. If you take one thing from this, when the celebrations come, look out for the people around you. Stay safe.